I'm James Albon. I'm an artist and writer from the UK, and I'm delighted to be participating in the TWOCAT Inner Peace art programme. Unfortunately, as a British person, I can say that the UK has had conflict with most countries in the world, and in many cases as very much the aggressor in those situations. The UK's colonial history is something that I think as a country we're still really unpacking and coming to terms with. And I think in that context, the TWOCAT art programme will be a really interesting process for exploring peace on both a geopolitical scale and a sort of international scale, and in a personal way, in terms of personal collaboration with an artist from another country, and within sort of one's own self and one's own being. I think that's why I've been really drawn towards the TWOCAT art programme, because I'm very, very interested in this contrast between a sort of geopolitical and historical context and the contrast within a person themselves and the communities that they work in. I'm particularly interested in working with artists from Southeast Asia and Southeast Asian countries who've been affected by British colonialism. My wife is actually half Hong Kong Chinese, half British. And we've lived in Hong Kong for several years and have a close connection to her family out there. Knowing more about the sort of complex perspectives and complex histories of British colonialism in Hong Kong and in the Southeast Asian region, I'd be particularly interested to collaborate with artists from China, from Hong Kong, from Singapore and Malaysia, and from any country in that region that's been affected by this history of particularly 19th century Britain. During the programme, I think that the focus of the creation will be on the collaborative process between myself and another artist. I think that it's really important not to approach a programme like this with a sort of preconceived idea of exactly how the outcome should work, but really letting the collaboration, the dynamic, the development of getting to know another artist and exploring their creative practice, really letting that sort of lead the creative process. In that sense, I don't have a really specific expectation from what to get out of the programme in a tangible sense, but I'm really excited to approach the programme and build a connection with other artists, with other cultures, see other perspectives, not just with the specific artists that I collaborate with, but understanding that there's a whole range of different artists participating in the programme and a range of different perspectives on culture, contexts, on historical conflicts or present-day conflicts, and I'm really excited to see how many different artists approach these conflicts in how many different ways, and the way that everybody finds their own way to bring inner peace into a process like this. For me, inner peace in an artistic context is a really interesting and really difficult subject to explore. I think artists are always connected to the wider world. We're always exploring and investigating the context that we work in, the communities that we work in, our personal identities and our national identities. And I think often artists can put enormous amounts of pressure on themselves in their work. I know myself that although there's a stereotype that artists can be sort of lay about to drink wine all day, often artists really struggle to switch off. In a sense, it's very much not a job where you just clock off at 5 p.m. and go home. I find as an artist that I'm always exploring, which in a way is very, very exciting, but in a way can lead to artists putting a lot of stress on themselves. I think that the collaborative nature of this program will be really interesting in terms of helping artists find their inner peace. I think often when working alone, we can have a tendency to be too critical of ourselves. We can have a tendency to sort of put a lot of pressure on ourselves, but when you collaborate with another artist, when you have an artist that you trust, you can see in themselves how much work they're putting in and how hard they work, and it's very easy to tell somebody else to take a break in a way that it can often be difficult to tell oneself to take a break. So I think in that way the collaborative nature of this program will be really important for helping artists find inner peace, not just in the context of their sort of geopolitical background or their national background, but in the context of their own practice and their own working methods. In the past, I've been fortunate enough to work with artists from different backgrounds in quite a lot of different contexts. As I mentioned, I lived in Hong Kong with my wife and her family there for quite a while, and we shared a studio in the Fortan Artist Studios in the New Territories, which was really wonderful. We were surrounded by amazing artists, and we worked in collaborative ways and alongside a really wide range of artists and saw so many new perspectives. I've also lived in France and shared a studio with artists there, which was again an amazing opportunity to see a very different and a lot more supportive working dynamic from the sort of working dynamic that we often see in the UK. And then also last year I undertook an artist residency in Barcelona and saw this very specific sort of Catalan approach to the work-life balance, which I really enjoyed and was a really, really stimulating environment to work in. So I hope that I can bring a lot of really interesting perspectives to this project. I hope that alongside a collaborator, we can create a really interesting, really dynamic and really innovative approach to inner piece. And I'm very, very excited to participate alongside a range of other artists and see how everyone brings their own understanding, process and development to inner piece in this project. Thank you.